We're just going to start using our dictaphones to record this, so we continue the meeting and get this over with, so we can get everyone away to their lunch and everything else. So, if you want to speak, you're going to have to use the old manual way and put your hand up. So I think we were Jocelyn. Councillor Grabanov was in the middle of questioning, so do you want to continue that, please?
Okay, so my question, so I was talking about there's 3 sites on the Kapiti Coast that are proposed that are non-contained sites, and that I think previously they have been over a whole area, whereas now they are defined in specific areas, locations, which is as far as you can get from the nearest toilet on a particular site. Have you looked into that, and have you any views on that?
Yes, I saw that for Waimiha, or Fieldway as we call it. I was surprised at that. I sort of thought, why are they so far away if we're trying to encourage people to enjoy the experience but behave, if you want to put it that way? Why haven't they got the 2 sites over there by the toilets? I mean, it's a slight differentiation, and they might feel like they're lesser class, but the reality is, if you're close to a toilet, it's a nice grassy area, you've still got the bird life, why not encourage it there? And so I agree with that point that you're possibly making, that to have them so far away. There's another one talking about health and safety type things with toilets, is I think it's Farrazin Reserve, north of Waikanae, where it used to be a wastewater treatment place, and there's no camping there at all, but there's toilets and children's play area, so it can't be infectious or something from the past, but that would be, there are some ideal spots which don't seem to have been considered.
Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Wilson. I see that hand.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. I take your point about, you mentioned, this is in reference to Schedule 2A and 2B, 2B, not 2B, but the prohibition of camper van freedom camping on private property. And I think you raised a very interesting point. You specifically mentioned the Waikanae Chartered Club.
Yeah.
Now, I know as a matter of fact the club has like pool tournaments or whatever.
Yeah, snooker competition.
Stadium, and it's excellent. And in fact, given our shortage of accommodation, sometimes it's the only way you can have events, people say. But I also wondered about, and this is a question for staff to have a think about too, I think, and that is that areas like the Waikanae Golf Club or the Papahomu Beach Golf Club, I mean, they have enormous car parks which for the most part are empty, apart from when the golf things are going on. So I'd be interested to follow up your point here about the restrictions on private property and whether or not by their approval that they could be used within certain hours.
Thank you. I think you've made the point. Yeah.
And also thank you for making the point about not picking on Farrazin Reserve, but there are other places in Kapiti that aren't a beach that would be a great place to park up. Yeah.
Especially if you could allow more than one van, because most camper vanners don't like to be alone in a place which is sort of semi-public. And there's the idea too that gates could be closed at a certain time. They don't have to be locked, but generally riffraff do not like to get out of their vehicle and open a gate. They'll just sort of drive on by. So that's my thought.
Great. Councillor Halliday.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Rod. Just wanted to touch on your comment around motorhome friendly designations as such. I think it's an excellent idea. Just letting you know, it is something that has been discussed. I'm just looking at the New Zealand Motorhome Association's website at the moment. There are 58 destinations around the country. The last one on this part of the island is in Levin, and there is none between Levin and Wellington. Wellington's not one either, so I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well. So that has been noted.
Thank you.
Great. I don't see any other hands. So Rod, you're out of the hot seat.
Thank
you
you
so much for your submission and your thoughts. It was a really great, different perspective to what we've heard so far in terms of what you presented. So thank you for bringing.
Thank you for the impromptu sort of like demonstration of technology and
the necessity of power that we need.
the power. I think you have enough power. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rod. All right, our last submitter today, Mark Menard. Welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing your submission. Mark Cameron.
That's my middle name. It's all right. That's how the email comes out.
Yes, on the submission it is Mark Menard, and on the agenda it is Mark Cameron. So
Yeah. I'll try not to speak into
it
the
is
microphone.
the same person, by the way.
Seems rather unusual circumstances, and I can't help but notice that once the power goes off, I feel a lot more comfortable. The room is quieter. I'm on the autistic spectrum. I love travelling, and I also love being in one place. And if you read my submission, you'll see I've had quite a diverse number of experiences over quite some time. I find myself, I'm shaking because I don't really like talking in public, but I'm talking because I'm passionate about this idea of freedom camping, which wasn't a word. 2005 I travelled the country from one to the other as an artist, filming the nature of New Zealand, and I repeated that same thing in 2016 after being away for 10 years. I grew up in Horowhenua in Levin. I was born in Christchurch. I've travelled a lot of the South Island. I've done it on a push bike before push bikes and touring bikes were not fashionable. I've travelled to Russia. I've met all sorts of people and been invited to all sorts of places. And I've hung out in a few doorways in various cities with homeless people and had to try and get a sense of what's happening for you, what's happening. I'm a filmmaker, and my interest is not recreation. It's about connecting with the land. It's about seeing the land, seeing the beauty of the land, and feeling connected. It's about meeting the community and people if I choose to do that. I'm not there to go and park up beside another big white van and feel like I'm just at home in my street. I live up Aotaki Gorge because I like my space. Yeah. Yeah. So the thought of having to fit in beside white lines and park up beside another white freezer box kind of thing for me. I have a little van that probably is no longer able to be used. I've had it for 9 years, and as far as legislation that made porta potties unacceptable, if I understand it correctly, I've lived in a porta potty for 6 years. I have never made a mess anywhere. I have lived within the code of what's necessary, and there's nothing wrong with them. So it's pretty disappointing that freedom camping becomes part of what becomes an almost elite. If you've got the money, you can do it. If you've got a big enough van, you can do it. As I said in my submission, I spoke to a couple who are living in their van, about the same size as mine, kind of like a Toyota Lighthouse, at the swimming pool. We're all there for our showers. And as he said, we're still paying for what happened in Queenstown in 2016, when all those young folk just went merry-how, had a lot of parties and just messed the whole place up, and other areas as well. 2005 I travelled the country in the back of a Toyota Corolla hatchback which had an LPG tank. It was great for economy. I thought I couldn't make it work, but essentially I could work out how to sleep on an angle and move my toes up and down to not get too uncomfortable. And I met a lot of people, and I went to a lot of beautiful places. 2016 I came back. We had the shooting in Christchurch the day I arrived. People murdered. It's very upsetting. And it was like, I'm come home. But at the same time, freedom camping. What's the news? If you're a freedom camper, if you're doing that, you're an undesirable person. I moved from being a responsible person who was connecting with the land in all sorts of places to share it with people in prison, hospitals, cancer care, drug and alcohol rehabilitation, etc. That's what my films of nature do. To being one of those people, the us and them. It's easy for us to separate ourselves. And if I look at this room, excuse me, but I imagine you've all got a nice home, a nice car, kids, maybe not. You're well-to-do, you've got a salary, you're doing well. But compared to a lot of people who are travelling on budget and still want to see the country, still want to connect with the land, who may be an artist like myself, it's pretty hard to make a living as an artist. But what we do and what we contribute is on another level. And I feel like we can look at what goes wrong, like the last speaker, and we can legislate, we can remove the risk, we can try and avoid all of these things from happening, and we can put in the white lines and try and contain and mitigate and sort out the risks. But can we be open? Are we an open community? Do we really want people to come here? I'm here because a woman smiled. This beautiful Māori elder came out of Countdown and smiled at me in the year that I thought I was still the scourge of the earth. In my own country where I was born. I'm not Māori, but I'm born here. I've got no other country that I was born in. What am I supposed to do? I want to act respectfully for the land. I do. I'm not one of them. I'm one of us. There is no separation. It's all in our fear that we create the separation. We shut off. I remember I'm going to switch to travelling around the States in a van, and then finding out that I had to pay $5 to drive to the beach. And I just couldn't get my head around the concept that I had to pay $5 to drive to the beach on a coastline near San Francisco, etc. I don't want a country that makes you pay to go to the beach. I grew up at Hoki Hill Beach. It's an extraordinary beach. And the sand, it moves. You can drive on, you can't drive on. It just changes all the time. And in terms of Otaki and in terms of the river mouth, nature is very powerful. The amount of gravel that comes down that river, we're just taking away in truckloads. We're taking away in truckloads. Now we're going to tell the camper vans, you must be destroying our beach. Is it true? I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is I go there, it still looks beautiful. I hang out there, I take some pictures, other people are hanging out there, camping there. I don't see a problem. Maybe there has been problems. But there's problems with young people driving cars, burning out rubber. It's just like, I hate it. I hate seeing it. I don't agree with it. But they're trying to find their freedom, their way, somehow. How do we deal with it? Do we tell all teenagers you can't go out? You can't drive a car? You're not allowed to go here? Will we do that? Will we just keep legislating? We have a beautiful, open, free land. I was so glad to come home. I spent 10 years away in England, Russia, Ireland, all sorts of places. I never had a difficult situation. I've hitchhiked in the States. I was told it would be horrendous. I don't see the nasty side of life. most of the time. I get at a New World car park when someone tells me that I'm parked up with a trailer and I can't get in a park, that I'm blocking the disabled parks, and he's going to come and thump me if I don't move. And I'm like, I'm still in my car. There's all these free parks, and I'm just waiting for somebody to come back, and I'll move if I need to, but I don't need to be threatened, thank you very much. Complete opposite of the Māori woman coming out of Countdown and smiling at me and making me think, you know, this is a really special place. I want to live here. Now I'm a ratepayer, you know. And I love being here. And I welcome anyone up the gorge. There's the regulars, there's other people who come. And yeah, we don't necessarily want to hang out with everybody that comes. You might feel a resonance, we don't. But there's lots of places people can go. And, you know, and some of us are diverse. We don't want to be squashed up. We don't drink wine out of a glass and sit in a very nice camper van. We're there for other reasons. And I do know a lot of people who live in cars. I know one woman who's lived there for 6 years in her car, and she's chosen that. And I've had conversations, but I've just left her to decide what she wants to do with her life. She does no harm. She's a very good person, but she's struggling to live in that car. And sure, that's not necessarily freedom camping, but she does need places to go that are safe. And I don't feel unsafe when I'm on my own. So I say the opposite of what I've heard other people say. I don't necessarily have to be beside another camper van to feel safe. I feel more unsafe in this room, to be honest, because I feel...
It's a dodgy character, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I just find being out in public, I have social anxiety, so, you know, that's just part of what happens. And sometimes I'm passionate and I speak out and I'm fine, and sometimes I'm not. And I appreciate all your smiling and welcoming faces, and a completely probably different point of view than a lot that you've heard recently. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mark, for your courage in coming in. I agree, having the power off made things incredibly quiet. It was quite nice, actually. And so just acknowledge your contribution. Obviously some hands up, and first was Mr. Moore, so Michael.
Thank you, Mark. I couldn't think of a better way to finish today's hearings and contribution about the subject, and your perspective is quite different, and it was very welcome. And as Deputy Mayor Kirby just said, to have the power of it was almost like in church, and thank you for ending it on this moment today. That's all I wanted to share, but your comments have not gone unheard, and I really appreciate your kindness you've shared with this room.
Councillor Warwick.
Thanks for coming in. Mike, obviously not, you know, the lady that spoke earlier, if you get to listen back, it was an ambassador, said it was only a small proportion of people who were not camping well, and the Freedom Camping Bill, I suppose, is so that people can actually go and stay in places in our country. But how, without a bylaw, there are people who don't do the right thing in every aspect of life. So how would you police the people without a bylaw that are not doing the right thing? What would be the option? Because without some teeth, you can't move people on if they're not acting well.
It's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer. I know that if you look at the statistics for, and I wish I'd looked this up again, but I remember when I was travelling, I met someone from Auckland University who did the study about if somebody drops some rubbish, I think the percentage chance that somebody else will drop some rubbish because they've seen some rubbish goes up. It's like 3 times. I think if there's no rubbish, you've got a 16% chance that they'll drop some rubbish. If the if there is some rubbish already, there's something like 36% chance that someone else will litter. And so if we can create the spaces that are in good shape and try and keep them that way, there's more chance they'll stay that way. But that's not an easy thing to do. I don't know how you legislate good behaviour. For me, I make films to help people connect with nature. I don't do it on a statistical analysis route, which you can do. You can say, well, this, and this. I do it out of love. It's like, if you actually see nature, you love nature, are you going to mess her up? And in fact, I filmed Ayla Paul, who's the mother of one of our residents, Aroha Sphinx, who does a lot in environment, in 2016, and I was just back at the same place where she was, and I was so surprised that she was back there at the moment. But again, it's like, if you form that connection with the whenua on all levels, whatever level wherever you're at, then you respect it. You have that in your own home. And if we actually allow people to feel like this is all our home. I mean, I've just come back from Taupo and sleeping in the car one night there, and picking up a bottle and some cans and stuff beside the road, and I was thinking, oh, don't do it, Mark, don't keep picking up, because you'll end up being a full bag. But actually there wasn't that much. So it's still in my car and it'll get recycled when I get there. But if you can teach people to respect and love, like as the other presentation in terms of the treaty and Māori, it's like, if you have that connection to the whenua on all levels, then you're more likely to respect it. And that's the way I would go. I'd start in the schools, I'd start in somehow spreading that message. I don't know how to legislate. But the same would be true of all of those tyre burnouts.
Thank you. Councillor Hove.
Mark, thank you for your input. This council's open for business. There's not one councillor here who isn't here for the community. We love camper vans, we love our beach fronts, we love our environment, and we're people. And all we want to do is have a win-win for everybody, along the lines of what you've been saying, and a suggestion that we have a cluster of camper vans in a defined area where they have shelter, outlook, may not be on the beachfront, but properly researched and reviewed. I think we're thinking along the same lines, aren't we?
I don't see a necessity to be at the beachfront. I mean, I had a small van, so it doesn't take that long to set up, I'm happy to sleep wherever it feels safe and comfortable, or where I'm called to be, because sometimes I want to get up at 3 o'clock and film the sunrise. That's why I like to be somewhere else. Whether that's practical in the camper van, I don't know, but there must be lots of different places. And I guess I don't know about the overwhelm situation, but usually I don't have any problem getting into the car park, except on kite festival days and other events. I've never experienced that I haven't got space as someone in the community to go wherever I want to go and park up or meet people or whatever. So, yeah. So, yeah, you haven't got an easy job. If I, to answer the questions, I come as the other thought, but yeah.
I think it is again a timely reminder that we can make legislation, but that doesn't necessarily. The challenge with making legislation, we think that's going to be the answer to what are people issues in the end. And people issues require relationship, they require connection, they require listening and hearing someone's story. And law is not the answer to that. It's sitting down over a meal or a coffee or whatever it takes to understand that. So thank you for that reminder. As Michael said, that's probably a nice note to finish on a conversation about a bylaw in the context of community and what we need. And the challenge we sit at this table is to be making decisions that help enhance our community life and help make life better for people and protect our environment. There's some really challenging bits, as you've acknowledged, Mark, but appreciate your contribution and everyone's contribution today into this. So, thank you. Yeah. Those of us that are all around this table doing very well.
Thank you, Mark.
Admittedly, we do sit.
Can I say one?
Privilege being around this table is a privilege.
Sorry, Mark, say one more thing.
And just one very simple thing. When you come to a new place and you haven't got a clue where anything is, they always used to say that if you were advertising your business, if you put a map on the back of your brochure, you'd have a huge, higher percentage of people finding wherever your event was. And the same is true, that if you have a little map and say, this is where the waste dump station is, this is where the recycling station is, and it's physical, and it's this way, and it's that far, you're more likely to use it. If you're sort of stuck with, well, I don't know where it is, and I haven't got time to go search it out, and it's less likely to happen. I know they cost more maps, but, you know.
Thank you, Mark. All right, so we've come to the end of our submissions. Again, as I just said, thank you to all those who have come in today and brought their oral submissions, and those who have written. Now the challenge is for us to digest those, look at our draft bylaw and see what comes out of it from there. So
Can I just quickly ask, so what is the plan now? We have these submissions.
And the time.
Yeah, just so we've got a bit of a... I'm not putting it on you, but just find out.
Staff have noted that question, and we'll provide a feedback by email for you in terms of the timeline and what's next. Okay. So we'll just do closing karakia. Kia tau ngā manaakitanga ki ronga I a tātou katoa. Kia hua ai te maki hihiki e ki ana. Kia toi te kupu, te toi te reo, te toi te wairua, te tau te Māori. Ki roto I a mātou mahi katoa I tēnei. Haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora everyone, thank you. Let's do a lunch together.